I'm Peter, this is Lois, my sons Stewie and Chris, our dog Brian, and the rest is this. We live in Quahog near the beach. A wizard gave my baby the power of speech. No one can hear him but when he's away. People in town can hear what he says. This is Family Guy. The dog talks too!
Recently many people have been excited by these AI-generated images of what Family Guy would look like if it were an 80s sitcom. Well, in Season 16 Episode 16 of Family Guy, Peter Griffin shows us how Family Guy would play out as a sitcom from the 60s and the 70s leading up to the 80s. The segment starts off with the Griffins having breakfast and Peter requesting for his usual meal. Lois brings Peter his meal and tells him that he won't be able to access the latest newspaper because Chris quit his paper route. This angers and surprises Peter. Chris quickly comments by saying that he quit his job because jobs are for bozos and that he wants to have enough time to go to Woodstock. Peter becomes furious and grounds Chris. Chris is not happy about the grounding and runs off while crying. The doorbell rings and Peter opens it and meets the new neighbor, young Mr. Herbert.
My name's Herbert, not Roy Mitchell. So if you see news reports about a Roy Mitchell from 3 towns over who was accused of all sorts of nonsense and left in a hurry, it's got nothing to do with me, because again, I'm Herbert.
After that, Chris sneaks out of the house to go to Woodstock, but Meg snitches on him. Lois then tells Meg that no one likes a snitch. Shortly after that, Mr. Brady shows up and teaches Meg about not being a tattletale. Peter then decides to go to Woodstock to get Chris before something bad happens to him. Peter then goes to Woodstock with his comically large car. He also makes fun of how unreasonably large vehicles were in the 60s and 70s. He finally gets there and finds Chris, but Chris resists and says he is going to stay at Woodstock to continue smoking dope. Peter forbids Chris from smoking dope, but Chris challenges his father by asking him how dope is different from Peter's 5 breakfast martinis. This then leads to a generational argument.
No son of mine is gonna be drinking a 3-martini lunch. Why not, Dad? Is it any worse than your 5 Scotch breakfast? What? No son of mine is gonna be drinking a 5 Scotch breakfast. Why not, Dad? Is it any worse than your 3 X's drawn on the jug corn whiskey moonshine? What? No son of mine drink anything but rice wine. That's right. We trace our early family roots to Asia. Listen, Chris.
After that, Peter tells Chris how much he cares about him and how much he values his safety. The Griffins get back home. Chris starts working his paper route again and everything is back to normal. This marks the end of the 60s segment. The segment takes a typical story arc that you would see in a sitcom. It starts off with everything being normal and then a disagreement is established. After multiple failed attempts to end the disagreement, the main character, and in the case Peter, finally finds a solution and everything goes back to normal. I would love to see the creators of Family Guy eventually creating at least one live-action episode of the show. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments section below. That's it from the update.